Chapter 7. Two shops would soon become the property of the enforcement coalition. Others would follow as they watched the reputations and clientele of their neighbors grow in a few short months. Faceless believed he would see petitions from the remaining Morlocks before the end of Molvash and the spring equinox. Yashar, owner of the Broken Tankard, and a man whose reputation was impeccable, would become Seedy Acres' benefactor for the improvements to the seaport. The leaders of the National Council would never question Yashar or his reasons for wanting to enrich the lives of all Angonis' citizens. Everyone in the country knew the Broken Tankard's rule of equality while within the establishment. Formal wear, though garish and brightly colored, was provided for each patron before being admitted into the dining area. This was to eliminate social standing, providing room for no segregation among the diners. Faceless was pleased with how the day was proceeding and allowed himself a rare smile. The establishment was his legal business. His name, Yashar, was held in high esteem among the organization and enterprises for his forward-thinking ideas, and everyone who frequented the establishment knew his face. Well, the features he wore while working within the tavern. A simple metamorphosis spell hid his actual identity from the patrons and staff alike. Faceless made his way across the street. Eyes from every shop and alley followed him as he made his way towards Jesfel's store. His appearance was a reason for the curiosity of those who typically avoided him at all costs. The last time he was in this section of the city, Two-Tooth had just rescued him from being killed by the man who raped and beat him. That was 14 years ago now. It was no wonder the whole seaport turned up to witness the legendary assassin walk through the streets. The words he spoke to Strad about returning to the scene to heal felt hollow to him now that he was near the alley that changed him forever. No one should have to endure what happened, but it would forge them into a person who would mistrust everyone, keeping him or her from falling prey to those who would use them to their advantage. Jesfel's shop was immaculate on the outside. The structure was solid and painted a vibrant blue. The storefront window was clean and unblemished. A bright orange door, decorated with magical symbols, led to the interior. In contrast to the bright colors of the building, the sign above the door was a brown background with trees lining both sides of a path. A muted sun cast its light from the end of the trail, creating odd shadows among the branches and foliage. Faceless would have stood there, pondering the meaning except for the number of people watching him along the street. A small bell chimed as Faceless entered Jesfel's shop. The first thing he noticed was the total lack of odor in the store. Kelton's shop had been atrocious. Brandon's was an enormous improvement, but Jesfel's establishment smelled only of wood used for the counter, table, and shelves that filled the room. The layout was a duplicate to Frandon's, but Faceless knew the pudgy shopkeeper copied from this man. There was no mistaking the absolute perfection of placement to capture the eye. Items were spaced individually for viewing them without having to move other things to see them clearly. Where Frandon's seemed cramped, Jesfel's was spread out to draw the eye to each individual jar or container. "Master Faceless," Jesfel said, bowing from the waist, "what can my humble shop offer your esteemed personage?" Such a powerful baritone from a wisp of a man. "You would see through the deception," Jesfel told him. "No reason to establish mistrust on our first meeting. Though I know your reputation, it would be wrong to assume it was all true. I see no reason to hide the truth from you. My appearance, however, is not an illusion or a metamorphosis." "Your colleagues speak highly of you," Faceless said, studying Jesfel. "You give credence to their praise, an extreme rarity among the denizens of Seedy Acres. Brandon is the only other warlock who holds any power, Master Faceless, and Kelton was the worst kind of charlatan. Praise from that lot means little. You know this, however, seeing as you have visited both recently." Faceless's hackles rose as Jesfel uttered the words matter-of-factly. Were it not for the man's ability in magic and his knowledge according to his peers, he would have sent a dagger flying into Jesfel's eye. However, when he reviewed what was said, he knew Jesfel was unafraid of his reputation. The man simply stated facts, neither cocky nor afraid. A strange man. Please come and make yourself comfortable. Jessfell led the way toward the counter near the back of the store. I have brought out comfortable chairs for you to utilize for our business. I figured it would be better than standing the whole time. Thank you, Jessfell. Faceless sat. His emotions were an odd mixture of excitement and suspicion. The warlock was not frightened by his reputation, and even assumed that they would need chairs for this conversation to follow, as if he knew it would be lengthy. You were expecting me. Have you looked outside? Jessfell queried, amusement in his voice. Only someone in a position of high authority causes such curiosity among my neighbors. I figured it was a city civil force or a noble. I never thought it would be the leader of the enforcement coalition. Pulling out 2 chairs seemed prudent. I have not been here in some time, Faceless admitted. This is the reason they are curious. Well, either my sudden appearance or they believe I am here looking for someone. This would explain why the crowd has grown since my visit to Kelton's. Rumors will run rampant once you leave, and I am alone. I'll have more people in my shop over the next few days than all the previous months of this year combined. And of course, they could also be curious to get a glimpse of the infamous Faceless. Or they might think you told me why you killed Kelton. I feel immense power within you, Jessfell. I will, for the time being, believe this is how you know my business. Should this not be the reason you know these things, we will have a completely different conversation than the one I have planned. I must ask, are you currently using magic? And please do not attempt to lie. I am very adept at knowing when someone is not telling the truth. I am not, Jessfell admitted openly. Kindred souls know each other without having to delve into the who, what, where, when, and why of logic and emotion. I cannot imagine too many in your line of work with above-average intelligence, making you mistrust my ability to make connections others do not. This will be a most interesting conversation, I think. When did you undergo your transmogrification? Faceless asked, leaning back in his seat, crossing his legs at the ankles. There must be an interesting story behind why a man of your intelligence and power is currently hiding in Seedy Acres. Unless, of course, you have no wish to impart that information. 5 years ago, Jessfell began, I ran afoul of a jealous husband who took offense to my frequent visits to his bedchamber when he was not in residence. Married people take to tend a nasty view of what punishment should be delivered for infidelity, and I was much too attached to my head to part ways with it. Are you always honest and direct? Faceless asked. Divulging that much information could give me an advantage to use against you should the need arise. Or are you confident I would not do so? My memory has more holes in it than moth-riddled socks. I find the truth keeps me from trouble. Well, for the most part. Jessfell chuckled, keeping his gaze far away, remembering a memory. Unless the truth happens to be a reason, you get in trouble. I have heard small lies does no harm, but I would forget what I said and make matters worse. The memory you just relived, Faceless said. Is it the reason you are now a citizen of our beautiful community? Again, do not feel compelled to answer if you do not wish it. When the husband confronted me, I told him the honest truth. I was delicate in my delivery, hoping it would keep his anger from boiling over, but that was not the case. Instead, he yelled for his guards to arrest me and throw me into the dungeon. I figured that was my cue to evacuate the area with all haste. Living a life looking over my shoulder was not tenable, so I decided to relocate far from where someone wanted my head. Faceless was taken aback by Jessfell's candor. For some reason, the warlock was unconcerned about divulging information that could be used against him. Either he was indifferent, or he knew his power would see him through whatever happened. You picked an odd location to reach old age, Jessfell. Seedy Acres is not known for its citizens living long lives. Not really, Jessfell said, shrugging. You know I have power and I am not an easy mark. This is not bravado, it is a simple truth. The reason I am comfortable around the most feared assassin in the land is my ability to sense the power in others. I knew you held magic as soon as you walked into my shop. I thought I would take offense to someone who identified something about me. Odd. I did not wish it known. Faceless shrugged. and yet my usual course of action would have been to torture you until I learned how you came by your knowledge. However, I am confident I'll have my answers by the time I leave this store. Unlike those you usually deal with, I have no desire to be part of or take from you or the consortiums. I desire to run my shop and leave the rest of the world to its own devices. Besides, you would have reacted already should you have felt I was a threat. Faceless studied Jessfell. His deductive skills bordered on mystical. Maybe his power provided him with understanding, and his intelligence deciphered what was revealed. I am finding my decision to visit has been justified. I was not impressed with your peers, but you are something else entirely. A mystery. I enjoy solving mysteries. Jessfell shifted in his seat. Scrutiny of any kind made his hackles rise. Having the most feared assassin in the country sitting not 3 feet from him, verbally sparring, made his skin crawl. Fear was not the reason he felt this way. It was the trouble Faceless could cause to the quiet life he lived. Please do not take this the wrong way, Master Faceless, but I have no interest in becoming involved with the Enforcement Coalition. Posing an argument before it is mentioned is no way to have a civil discourse, Warlock. Of course, Master Faceless. Please forgive my assumption. Logic rules my mind. I sometimes find it difficult not to speak when I see the inevitable. But I must say, I find you are a far sight different than your reputation. Do not get me wrong. I believe you would kill me should you feel it served your purpose, but I have never heard mention of your intelligence. Only the ruthlessness of your skills, or the depth of your intellect. Why are you really here? I listened to what you said, but a man like yourself would not voluntarily live among the denizens of Seedy Acres. I am willing to bet the leadership of the Enforcement Coalition that you are an extensively educated man, Jessfell. I would dare say you are among the most brilliant minds of our time, and unless my ears deceive me, you are of noble birth and rearing. Jessfell understood that Faceless's mind was what made him so dangerous. The man was feared for his blades, but the intellect behind his physical prowess was much more frightening. Combine the two, and there wasn't a person alive who could accomplish what Faceless might when he directed his energy towards something. Ending up in Seedy Acres was a conscious decision, Jessfell informed Faceless. What better place to hide from your past? There was no other city in the world that boasts a seaport with the reputation this one holds. A person of means and wits could vanish within it and never fear being discovered. Hell, I have never used my actual voice with another person until today. You were afraid I would see through the charade. Was this why you chose to avoid your warlock persona? Yes, and I was justified in my belief. You may be feared for your blades, but it is your mind the world should dread. You are an anomaly amongst the members of the Coalition and the Unbound. Much as he hated to admit it, Faceless was enjoying himself. Jessfell was a treasure. The intelligence behind those piercing blue eyes was incredible, a match to his own. This meant Jessfell was extremely dangerous, even though he professed only wanting to reign hidden among the common folk of Joron. A dangerous man should decide. If he turned his attention to wanting more, this current lifestyle provided would disappear. A person with the ability to make it happen would also create problems. What are your plans for the future, Jessfell? I plan to make a comfortable living right here in Seedy Acres. My ambition, when I had a reason for such a thing, was lost the day I told the truth to a man about sleeping with his wife. I would think someone like you would be looking for a new place to disappear, Faceless speculated. Are you not concerned over the upcoming ballot to have Seedy Acres burnt to the ground? Does King Colport's maniacal hate for the seaport not trouble you? From where I sit, that will never happen. I imagine you already have plans to thwart the king and his wishes. What leads you to believe I have any influence with the ballot? Faceless asked, intrigued. Seedy Acres, under Two-Tooth's reign, would have ended in the seaport being razed and rebuilt. The Enforcement Coalition and its affiliates would be removed from Lysandras or burnt within the seaport. The person who holds that petition now is not someone to cross. This place is your home. I would not want to antagonize you in your own territory, let alone anywhere else. I might find my throat slit while I slept. You should keep your cards close to your chest, Jezebel. I am unaccustomed to a person capable of becoming a rival and not killing them outright to avoid trouble down the road. Why are you purposely divulging how dangerous you are? I hope that you find me no threat, Jezebel replied honestly. Influential power is what you seek, Master Faceless. I only want to understand the mysteries of magic and the associated costs. This is my ambition, my yearning. I have never met a man who did not want power and control. Yet, you sit here telling me that it does not matter to you. Were I not able to tell when a person is lying, I would have decorated these chairs with your blood. Moth-riddled memory, remember? Would you like a drink? Faceless declined. I find my throat is as parched as a wasteland suddenly, Jezebel said. Then pour yourself refreshment. I am no assassin, Faceless. I have no desire to poison you. Surely one drink will not kill me, Faceless finished. I appreciate the offer, but I must decline. Must be challenging to live such a life. Not really, Faceless told him. Jezebel poured himself a glass of water and returned to his seat. Faceless was a complete mystery. Men like him were politicians or monarchs. Faceless could rule a vast empire legitimately if he so chose. Wasting time on a seaport like Amganis made no sense. It was a shithole. The man must have his reasons, but those were real only to him. The citizens of this place had given up hope long before he arrived, and they would be hard-pressed to revive a history that was not their own. This did not seem to concern Faceless. However, he was fighting to keep the seaport from being razed and rebuilt by the king. I am in a conundrum concerning you, Jezebel. No need to be, I assure you. You seem too good to be true, Faceless told him. I could say the same for you, Master Faceless. Faceless nodded his understanding. Still does not solve my dilemma. Do you want me to leave Joron? Whatever for? Faceless asked, genuinely puzzled. You are unsure about me. I have been nothing but honest, and you still worry whether I am a threat. Not one to mince words, I see, even when sitting face to face with an assassin. My death is not under my control at this time, Master Faceless. What if this conversation was taking place with other people present? Would you still conduct yourself in this fashion? I would become Jezebel in truth. Nasally voice, stooped posture, terrible with words. My persona would remain intact were there others present. My identity needs to go no further than you and I. And yet you wonder why I am leery of what your intentions are, Jezebel. You shouldn't be. I intend to remain a mystery to those I serve, Master Faceless. I must say, Warlock, I am intrigued. You have piqued my curiosity. Many years have gone by without someone interesting me so much. Hiding from you is like trying to hide in an open plain. It does not make sense in the least. My power? Faceless asked. Just so. Understanding magic provides individual liberties in conversations. Take ours, for example. We have not danced around topics searching for weakness in each other. Our magic forces us to eliminate the pretense of ignorance, Master Faceless. I begin to think you came to Seedy Acres to test me, Jezebel. Or at the very least, challenge my beliefs. The enigma you represent is a wonder and a bane. It means I now have someone who can contest hold over Amganis. Since I am not a man to make rash decisions, I now have another puzzle to solve. I'm only trying to survive this conversation. Then rest easy, Warlock. I intend no harm. You have my word. Thank you, Master Faceless. I can now enjoy your visit. Another odd statement, Faceless said. The tension left the room like a breath being swept away by a hurricane. With Faceless giving his word, he could relax and enjoy the company of an educated man. 5 years had passed without the stimulation of his intellect, and he would savor every moment with Faceless. Having someone who understood without long explanations was refreshing, to say the least. As much as I am enjoying this conversation, I think we might come to the reason for your visit. Exchanging banter, though refreshing after so many years, seems too social for a man such as yourself, and I fear you will grow tired of it. I am seeking knowledge concerning reficiat impredite, Faceless replied without preamble. And now that I have spoken with you and felt the power within you, I believe my visit will be justified. History tells the art was lost centuries ago. The Hartar killed anyone who could perform the rite. Actually, they murdered anyone who showed the ability to use Nist in any fashion. Books are chock full of stories about the destructive nature of those who held that particular power within themselves. Why now? Why choose this question to avoid a direct answer? Faceless question. You have been entirely open and honest up until this point. You have not lied once. What is it about this Nist that frightens people so? You've read or heard the stories of the Hartar of Uzaland, who were hunted like animals and destroyed when it was discovered they held profane Nist power. What makes you believe the stories are false or inaccurate? A better question would be, why do you believe the stories? How can an educated practitioner of magic believe such drip? Have you witnessed firsthand what happens to those with that power? Isfel shook his head. Then what would make you believe lies perpetrated by those who would attempt to bury the knowledge behind fabrication or fear? Reficiat impredite is profane magic, Faceless. And profaners are extinct, Faceless ground out between clenched teeth. Yes, I have heard the lies. I just did not believe you would espouse them as well. Isfel was concerned about Faceless's interest in Reficiat impredite. The magic required was considered an abomination in the world, and those who demonstrated the talent were hunted and killed without question or mercy. Having second sight gave him a tremendous advantage in most things, but it did not reveal everything. He cursed his supposed gift. Magic functions the way it is designed, Faceless stated. The one who has the power also needs an indomitable will to keep it from using them or consuming them. Profane magic might be a destructive force, but it matters little against a mind that can form it and use it without the devastating effects found in history books. Would you not agree, Warlock? Profane magic is wild, Isfel replied. Nist is malevolent in its desire. The power should never have been created. It should be eliminated. Profane magic would never allow itself to be obliterated. It has an unhealthy desire to reduce the world to nothing. A power like that cannot be eliminated by men, Isfel. Besides, I believe profaners exist. These men hide for fear of being hunted and killed. Meaning you believe profane magic will return, Master Faceless? Thought we were in agreement about not dancing around the topic, Isfel. Faceless uncrossed his feet and sat up straight. I think profane magic never went away. The lies and fear have kept it hidden. Just talking about profane magic is punishable by death, Faceless. King Colbert has decreed no one is to discuss the vile power of that magic. Are you going to turn me in? That would imply guilt on your part as well. The king cares nothing for people, laws, or lives. Colbert cares only for himself. He is a man whose days are numbered. The populace will stand for his tyranny only so long. Isfel stopped his lips from uttering the nonsense he was about to deliver. Faceless informed him there was nothing to fear from a discussion with him on the topic. He knew this would be the case. Faceless cared for no law outside the coalition, would do whatever it took to keep it and himself alive. I had you all wrong, Master Faceless. The rumors, lies, and stories aside, I never would have guessed your true nature. What makes a man like you care for people who care nothing in return? You think you have it all figured out, don't you? Intelligence can make things easier, Isfel, unless it is driven with egotistical supposition. Just because I have been forthright does not mean you have seen my soul, Warlock. A bit touchy not to have hit the mark, I'm afraid. Isfel waved his hand. I'm not saying it is the only reason. It is one of them. Nothing of the sort, Faceless told him. The statements were made in monotone. Anger sounds a bit different. The nature of a man cannot be changed once set, Faceless. You know this better than most. Magic can change the body, but it is defenseless against the nature of a person. Jezebel wanted this conversation to end. He wanted Faceless to go away and leave him in peace. He wanted nothing to do with him or his organization. However, his second sight had other intentions for him. Can we return to being direct and honest? Faceless asked. I can talk to thousands who dance around topics from fear. I am not dancing, Jezebel retorted. I am finding the topic of conversation a bit disconcerting. I have not had to hear about profaners or their insanity for years, and now it has reared its ugly head again. Meaning you had discussed this topic before? Faceless stated. No, Jezebel lied, shaking his head. Where he was born, profaners were not feared and hated like the rest of the world. Meaning I quit reading in about its destructive nature in books long ago, Faceless. Then why fear something you have never encountered personally? Faceless asked, sitting back in his chair. Quite right, Jezebel said. How much do you know about profane magic and its cost? Only what is written in the history books, Faceless admitted. I would believe that a joke were it anyone else, Faceless said, his mouth twisting into a grimace to hide the smile. Do you understand why profaners are afraid to use their ability? I understand the fear that has been given fertile ground through fabrication and misdirection. The Hartar, according to history books, backed by eyewitness accounts, was extremely devastating to Uzalon and those who lived there. What we are not told is the truth. Jezebel sighed. Then you know profane magic requires life force to power it. I admitted as much, which is why you asked about Reficiat Impredite. Restorative incantations can only be used by profaners. The spell was invented by a profaner before he was found and killed. The histories mention nothing about a profaner discovering it, Faceless told him. My visit has already revealed more than 1,000 years of history books. But the notion of a warlock versus a wizard discovering that particular spell seems in direct conflict with what is written and taught. Why would a wizard need to know how to store life force? A profaner was the creator behind a Reficiat Impredite. This way, profaners could draw small, undetectable amounts of life force from an object without fear of discovery. A necessity, Faceless declared. The mother of most inventive thought is when life and limb are online. Do you know whether Reficiat Impredite is impossible? Restorative incantations are possible, Jezebel admitted, deflated. Now we come to the point we've been dodging since my arrival, Faceless said. What makes you so certain? Jezebel wanted nothing more than to have Faceless leave his shop and forget he ever existed. Telling the assassin the news was going to provoke an unwanted response from the man. There was going to be a fight between them, and the killer was going to learn that not all people could be bested with steel. In fact, Faceless was soon to discover unsavory news about himself. Are you positive this is the direction you wish to proceed? Jezebel queried. No need to turn back now, Faceless said, leaning forward in anticipation. Nothing for it now, Jezebel thought. I am a profaner.